SFGN's owner is taking on Florida's anti-LGBTQ plus governor. Since taking office 4 years ago, Ron DeSantis has steamrolled not only LGBTQ plus and Democrats, but even Republicans. But there's one person who's not afraid to call him out and take him to court: Norm Kent. Queer News Tonight has reported on Governor DeSantis' latest crusade against drag entertainment, sparked by manufactured outrage because kids saw a show featuring RuPaul's Drag Race alumni. In this week's SFGN, online now and on stands tomorrow, Kent is taking the fight personally and taking it to DeSantis. He's found a plaintiff and plans to sue on behalf of them and all drag queens, citing attacks on their livelihoods and their First Amendment rights. He told me, quote, "I'll put Governor Ron DeSantis in jail before any drag queens are put in jail," end quote. DeSantis has threatened establishments with the loss of their liquor licenses, essentially putting them out of business if they are endangering children by exposing them to what can charitably be described as bawdy humor. Kent is a high-profile attorney who's dedicated his career to advancing LGBTQ plus rights. It hasn't been easy. There have been legal obstacles every time he turned around. But he's succeeded and plans to be victorious again, saying he's, quote, "coming back with a fury in 2023. I will fight like it's 1983, end quote. Never a shrinking violet, SFGN's founder is calling out the governor and his toadies for their hypocrisy, saying, quote, "the governor needs to be called out for what he is, not a conservative champion, but a self-righteous Neanderthal," end quote. Norm tells it like it is. That's what's made him friends, enemies, and plenty of frenemies. It's also what's helped advance LGBTQ plus rights. He's been fighting cancer the last couple of years, but it's not stopping him. During our conversation about the impending lawsuit, he told me, quote, "the wrong person went in for brain surgery. DeSantis is the one with a brain tumor, not me," end quote. And that is classic Norm Kent. Anybody who's been around South Florida gay politics for any amount of time knows that Norm is feisty. When he gets a bone to chew on, he is going to take it and take it and take it till it's absolutely destroyed. I think he could really make an impact between him, the correct legal team around him, and the right defendants.
And he's not afraid at all. Like in that interview, like I just think about like, you know, our houses and establishments like that are fearful that they won't have they won't have enough money to fight big DeSantis and what they're ready to fight for. You know, so what? Maybe they close your whole network, your whole newspaper up. Then what happens to you?
I've got 5 other jobs.
That's true. You do have 5.
You know, I think it's really telling when we see a governor who uses a 1940s Supreme Court, like Florida Supreme Court case as defense against our house. Absolutely ridiculous. Like it's heinous stuff. And what we see all the time, what I've seen increasingly is Republicans start off their big tirades with saying, "I don't know anything about what I'm talking about, but here's my opinion." I appreciate the humility in saying that, but don't give your opinion afterwards because it's obviously uninformed. We have to understand that drag is an art form that has a diverse spectrum, right? Much in the same way that you would take your kid to see like Up, or I don't know why I can think of a kids movie that's less than 15 years old, but you wouldn't take them to like an R-rated movie, and it's because there is a whole spectrum of intended audience for different performances. So maybe you're not going to take your kid to a drag show that's at a bar where they're scantily clad or whatever.
The show was at the Broward Performing Arts Center.
Right.
There were no children there.
Right.
There was a short woman that was 35 years old.
Yeah. And Max, to your point about R-rated movies. That is a point that Equality Florida drew in their response to this, that are movie theaters going to be sued and put out of business because a child under 17 is allowed into an R-rated movie with their parents? No, absolutely not. The ones that serve alcohol, are they going to have their liquor license removed? No, absolutely not. This is a target, because they're calling it sexually explicit material. Anything in that show, and really just about anything you'd see at Pub on the Drive or Lips, is nothing worse than you would see at in an R-rated movie.
It even gets worse than that.
Yeah.
He advocates for parental rights. And so a parent gets to decide, I'm going to bring my 12-year-old to an R-rated movie, or I'm going to bring my 12-year-old to Magic Mike live show or to Hooters for dinner that would meet the exact same standards that he's attacking drag queens for. The inconsistency of the equal protection under the law means he doesn't have a chance. First off, you're not going to get a court, even the most ridiculous of the conservative judges that Trump appointed over the 4 years are not going to say that First Amendment speech is controlled by the nature of watching a drag show because it is sexually explicit. You're not going to get a federal judge to do that. And if you even got a ridiculous federal judge to do that, it would be appealed and overturned. Even with the 6 majority that the Supreme Court has in its Republican conservativeness, it's unimaginable to me that the 6 majority would say your speech in a show is sexually explicit and therefore violates. It's a ridiculous standard. It is a completely ridiculous standard, which you suggested.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons I love this story so much. Norm Kent is one of the few people that can pick up the pin and poke the balloon and watch all of the helium come out of the Ron DeSantis, because he's from an era that can do that. I recently, as you all know, last month I interviewed Anthony Fauci, and we had extensive conversation that gets to ACT UP days in the gay community and Larry Kramer. And we need a dose of Larry Kramer these days. And locally for us, who is that? That's Norm Kent. And I love it. After all of the medical situations that he has, you know, he's the one that slapped the public screen cover of the SFGN and put Dean Trantelis in the priest outfit. And love him or hate him, you have to respect him. And that's, I love that he's going to weigh in on this fight, because it's exactly what we need. We need Nadine Smiths and Kira Johnsons, but we also need Norm Kent's, and we need to attack him in various different ways. And this new, and at his age, and at this point in his life, after all of the medical and the things that he has gone through, if this gives him the one final, I'm going out with a bang. Bravo, Norm Kent.
Yeah.
He needs this.
Bravo, he needs it.
Absolutely.
And by the way, and he would tell you, don't say this is my final hurrah. He's going to tell you he's got plenty more in him.
Yes.
He's going to go after you next.
You
might want to be careful.
All right.
I'm gonna run this tape.
Okay, rerun the tape. At the end of the day, he is going to make, I believe him, he's going to make mincemeat of him. I challenge somebody in Tallahassee, please arrest a drag queen. Arrest the owner at our house. Please take that action. Because there are people like Norm Kent that are going to kick your legal ass. Mark my words.
Norm Kent, you're a badass.
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Lara are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus community.